Was clearly lost in that opening 20 minutes. Did what happened in that period really shock you?
The game was not lost. The game, we had a big disadvantage. We conceded 2 goals, but was not lost. And we tried to react, but the way we conceded was poor. But even though we tried to react, it was not enough.
But what did you see in that 20-minute period? It looked to go against everything you prepared for.
I see mistakes that happen. I see disorganization, the team too open, allowing Newcastle to play. So it was a very difficult match for us.
You changed from 3 at the back to the back 4 after that. And obviously the 3 worked to some degree against Arsenal last week. Can you say that was a mistake with hindsight, or do you feel you went with the right team?
Yeah, maybe we prepared bad. Maybe we made mistakes. We have to look at, but if you look at the game, probably, yeah.
We spoke to Matteas Fernandez, and he said the players should take responsibility. He said the players lacked the fight and the spirit, and they weren't reaching the second balls before the Newcastle players. Do you feel let down by them to some degree?
No, it was not about that. Of course, Matteas is now living a moment of frustration, and things are said. Let's look at the game. We started poor the game. The match, the way we started, we were soft. The way we conceded the first goal, the second goal, then everything is much harder. But let's try to finish the season with dignity, with respect for the club. It's going to be a hard week in front of us, but we owe it to the club to try until the end.
There was quite an angry reaction from the supporters that had stayed till the very end to watch that when the players went over to sort of give them a round of applause. Can you understand that anger?
Of course, I understand. They are frustrated, they are disappointed what they saw today. With reason. They saw a team that has been struggling through the season, but with better attitude, with better character, more fighting spirit. And when the fans don't see it, of course, they show their frustrations, and they show their frustrations to me with my decisions, so we understand them.
You had shown signs, maybe in the last 15 games even, that you'd had a good record and that you'd been competitive and arguably could have been higher up the table if that record had been all season. Was today just a huge step back? Did it really surprise you, the performance they put in?
Yeah, the way we started the game. Was really, really bad. But like you said, we've been trying to improve, trying to get better, but today was not a step forward. And we have to realize that our situation is very, very difficult. There's a lot of anxiety, nerves, all these things don't help. But we have to take responsibility and us to blame. Like I said, Johnny, let's try to finish the season with dignity.
What does the week hold then? You just have to hope that results go your way and make sure that whatever happens, you put in a great performance in your last game.
Let's wait on Tuesday, but we've been in these situations from recent weeks now. We have chances to go. You don't take it, then we expect what's happening in the other games. Let's see. And it's possible, but it's difficult. We have to realize that it's tough.
Thanks for your time, Nuno.
Cheers, mate. So calm in his post-match interviews, isn't he? He's very level-headed, and he doesn't give much away, but you sense that he thinks it's probably done, don't you?
Yeah, it's obviously very hard for a manager to come out after a game. Again, he did speak well, and I think it was the goals they gave away would be hurting him the most. He was on about they were disorganised at the start of the game. When you think how organised they were last weekend, you know, really compact, and they were threatened. The wing-backs were doing really well, and they thought they got something at the end of the game. So it was almost the opposite to last weekend. I know a different game, a different challenge, and away from home. But the first 20 minutes, for all his experience, I bet you'll be scratching his head. He just said it there, the way they were so open. And whatever about Newcastle, when you go up there, and if you're open, they have players that can hurt you, which they did today. And to be 2 goals on after 20 minutes, he said the game wasn't over then. Of course it was over. You know, you look at their goals for and their goals against, it was highly unlikely they were going to come back and even get a draw, never mind a win. So it was over after 20 minutes. And again, when you start that slowly, and it's all self-inflicted, and he's right, the players will be nervous, they'll be anxious. But if you are nervous and anxious, well, certainly be compact and don't be taking chances at the back. So I think they've done everything the opposite of what he was hoping for.
Do you think that they didn't quite know, the players, whether to stick or twist? In the sense of, play 5 at the back against Arsenal or Manchester City, you're there or you're going to try and nick a point, aren't you? But they knew the situation they were in. They're still playing 5 at the back, but they probably need to win. Do you think that changes a little bit their mentality, how they approach it?
Yeah, but you also got to stay in the game. I think that is the difference. I feel as though how Newcastle play, they want an open game. They're very energetic, lively team, and when the space is open, that's when they're very good. What they did against Arsenal, they all knew their jobs. And yes, there was in a low block, but that makes it a little bit easier in terms of the communication. What happened today, they allowed themselves for the game to get stretched, and then they didn't know what to do. So when you've got a centre-back coming out all that way, obviously he's been told by the manager, if they want to get the ball in midfield, you've got to go all the way out. But it's very difficult when you're used to playing one system to go in a different system. And I'm not... Roy said about system...
He wouldn't have meant that high up the pitch, Mike, surely.
Exactly, he didn't mean that high up. But it's easier to play in a 3 or a 5 when you're in a low block because you just got everything in front of you when the game opens up. And he admitted there in his interview, really, he probably got it wrong. But I think when he's taking positives from games, the Arsenal game, he's thinking, actually, we stayed in the game until the end. We managed to get a goal, non-goal, that was ruled out. And he's probably just thinking in his head, that's what we need to do today. But
the game management from the players, some of the players, again, I go back to that decision-making, trying to play out when you think of the first goal. And even then with the second one, there's obviously panic set in. Instead of people going, OK, we've made a mistake, let's again go back to it. We're 1-0 down, we can get back. We know Newcastle haven't been great. I think one of the worst in the league for holding on to leads. Again, go back, stay in the game. There was definitely panic for the second goal where you've got centre halves sprinting ahead of midfielders. It's like, to me, it's madness.
Yeah, but that comes from nerves,
like,
sort of.
Yeah, but
we've both been relegated.
But you're a defender. My point is, so you're a defender, Micah, right? You have a different view of it. Mm-hmm. The one thing you do go, if you're on about nerves and you're chasing the game, again, you still want the game in front of you. You wouldn't want to get drawn into these positions. A defender, as soon as you go into that position, you must go, do you know what, if they play around me here, we've got... the space is in behind me. If you're nervous or worried, your decision making, well then stay. Just sit and go. I'll argue after with the manager saying, I want you to press. There's no way he wanted him to be pressed high up. Absolutely no way.
But you also want to be aggressive, don't you, as a defender? And he's just mistimed it, he misjudged it. When you're going through a difficult spell, relegation, nerves come into it, and you make decisions that you don't normally make.
You mentioned it. I mean, you have both been relegated in your career. You were at a different stage. You were a young lad starting out when you were relegated. You were a more experienced pro when you were relegated. What did you have nerves and anxiety? Do you understand the point at all?
I was a bit young. I was a bit younger, but yeah, we some very, very good players at Nottingham Forest. But again, we didn't have a goal scorer and whatever, and things were going against us. And yeah, all that comes into it, that lack of belief, confidence, or whatever. That all goes into mix. And if you're not scoring goals, West Ham have struggled all year with their goals for. And when you're in them positions, it's a battle all the time. So when they're 2-0 down, West Ham aren't going to score 2 or 3 goals away from home. It's not going to happen. So that's where the mindset is. So again, when you're 1-0 down, don't make them rash decisions. Yeah, confidence in your decision making, but to go chasing the game with so much time left, I think if that happened and it was last 10 or 15 minutes, you go, listen, we have to take a chance. But there was so much more. I definitely think that the panic kicked in, and when they start going to die up the pitch, and obviously Newcastle picked them off, and you're 2-0 down, everyone knows the game's over. Everyone knows it's over.
And just on the flip of that, I was more doing what Disasi was doing. I was the skipper. I was supposed to be the leader on the pitch, but my performances weren't good enough. So you end up doing things that, instead of trusting the system, trusting what the manager tells you, you end up trying to do everyone's job on the pitch. And I feel as though that moment in there when everything should just be calm, you make them decisions when you're nervous. He's probably told him before the game, make sure when you go in there, be aggressive.
But as you get older, Mike, as you get older, with experience kicks in, the one thing you have to do, right, we look at the third goal there with the throw. Whatever's happening in the game and you're looking for that bit of goal, do the simple things well, do the basics well. That just gives you a bit of a foundation to try and hang in there for a point. And I'm just on about today, I'm on about overall during the season. We can reflect on our careers, and that relegation, it's a sore one. That follows you around everywhere, whatever, about trying to win trophies. When you've been relegated for a brilliant club, like I was at Nottingham Forest under a great manager, you don't shake that off. And I go back to these players, and these players aren't intentionally going out to make mistakes, but a panic sets in, and you think you have to win a game. First of all, stay in the game.
But I've not been back to Villa Park since, because embarrassment. I was the guy that took the team down. People lost their jobs. Now we're getting a little bit deep here, but that's what it means. That is what it means. You know, the people at West Ham now, they're struggling. It's not over. They still can take a positive that they're still, you know, got a chance. But
and the reaction at the end, you're going to get that from supporters, obviously. You know, West Ham last week, when you're getting 50, 60,000 fans at home, there is going to be anger, frustration.
There is still, I mean, not a very large one if you follow Opta's percentages, but there is still a chance that they could get themselves out of it. But what they will need is they will definitely need Spurs to lose at Chelsea on Tuesday night, and then it all goes down to that. From
final. Spurs' point of view, I wish that 6% was a little bit lower. That still worries me with Spurs, 6%. But yeah, you're looking at Chelsea or them 2 games to get a point to stay up. And if you'd offered Spurs that a few weeks ago, especially I think West Ham beat Everton about 3 weeks ago, and West Ham all of a sudden listen, they've got a great chance of staying up for Spurs to need a draw with 2 games to go. You'd be delighted with that.
Where do you stand with Nuno now and West Ham? He's been in charge for 32 of their 37 Premier League games, 33 points in those 32. You talked actually, when off air we were talking about when you were at Sunderland, you want to average a point a game.
Yeah.
That is just over a point a game. He had a slow start though, trying to get that West Ham squad how he wanted it.
Yeah, of course. And that was the challenge for him. Obviously, you're trying to get results, you're trying to get people on side. Then when you slip up in a game, like we've been doing there, questioning the tactics and the system. But you have to bring in that nerves, emotion into the players' performances, and they've just tightened up the last few weeks. 3 weeks ago, you think West Ham, they've got the momentum. And we saw that today in the game where you're looking going, the big build-up, West Ham are fighting for their lives. And we keep saying the home form will get them out of it. But at some stage, as a professional footballer, you've got to be able to do it away from home as well. And they never turned up today, and I think that'll be the sore one for them. If they turned up today and they had a go and they got beaten in Newcastle, where, you know, you hold your hand. But the 3 goals, all self-inflicted. I always go back to it. If that happened on a training ground in a session, you're doing 11v11 and you gave up 3 goals like that, you'd be really critical of the team. So to happen today, and it's such an important game, yeah, I'd be sore one for him.
Yeah, it's difficult. I think from Nuno's point of view, like you said, it looked like they had the bounce, it looked like they had the momentum, didn't happen. But I'm expecting the big players to turn up. Bowen, who I rate so much, he's been quiet recently. Somerville had that nice patch, didn't it, where he was scoring pretty much every game. Tati scored a wonder goal today. Even the leaders like Souček, he's been so good for West Ham over the years, but when they needed him most, he's not been there. And yes, there's other teams in the mix who have got good teams as well, but I just feel they left it too little, too late. And
when there's 2 or 3 games to go, I also think players are subconsciously then looking after themselves a little bit. Lads doing their own thing. We saw that with some of their passing, and then lads being selfish in the sense of, well, if we do go down, you know, lads be already maybe an agents, where am I off to, that type of scenario. I think that can creep in. And also you're looking at the manager there, and he's an emotional guy. You could see him in the first half. He looked beaten up, didn't he? He wasn't throwing out them messages going, lads, listen, we'd bounce, come on. But he looked beaten in the first half. Never mind at the end.
A collective lack of intensity, and we see it with the second as well.
Sorry, Roy, I want to talk about this. Can we just slow this down? Okay, what are West Ham trying to be? Are they trying to press, or are they trying to sit in? Because I don't understand what's going on here with Bowen and Wilson. And Somerville goes late, and as you see here, this is your centre half. I don't know if we could just pause it there. So, when you're a centre half, when you're playing with 3 at the back, we always use the terminology, they've got to jump. But you've got to jump in this area here. If you're going to go all the way there, you have to make sure he doesn't turn on the ball. And as we run it on here, now, Souček's in a position where Dizazi should be. Then he goes, now he's in no man's land. If you're going to go, have some communication somewhere on the pitch. Again, Tadibo is late, and now he's got all this space to run into. And then you mentioned it before, Wan-Bissaka's position. If he's playing wing back, come inside. You can see the play that he's developing. And we talk about individual areas. You see it more on this one. And you wanted to talk about Wan-Bissaka.
Wan-Bissaka, obviously, there's a number of positions again, Mike. But I think there's a bit of panic here with West Ham. They're a goal down. But you look, there's 19 minutes gone. There's plenty of time. We talk about staying compact, staying in the game. Newcastle have been great recently, make them a little bit nervous. But look at players getting on the wrong side. People run off the back of Fernandez again, not pressing. Centre halves.
Just pause it there. Sorry, Roy, before you go on. This is a day. You have to close this space here. This player here is irrelevant because you can always come across. Now you have to go across. Whether you're playing 3 or 5 at the back, this is where the danger is at the moment. Go on,
yeah, but again, I always use the phrase smelling danger. If you stop here, you must go, lads, we're in trouble here. There's trouble ahead. In terms of players getting back in, protecting the middle of the goals, ball watching, and Newcastle have enough quality because it's only 1 or 2 passes. I don't think Newcastle have done anything extraordinary here. Nice play, and how can be straight in on goal? And even when Wan-Bissaka's running back here, Wan-Bissaka, I don't want to be too hard. He's looking over his shoulder. Somebody's about to shoot on his goal, and he's worried about somebody behind him. That's the danger. You've got to protect the middle of the goals, particularly if you're playing 3 at the back. And then this is all self-inflicted. If you lose a game and Newcastle are brilliant, but this from a throw-in, you've got players ahead of the ball, and from your own throw-in on the halfway line, within less than 10 seconds, the game's gone. So it's all look at here.
Your own throw-in takes 3 players out the game.
Yeah, but you know, a lot of professional footballers don't know how to throw the ball. Even the throw's not great. It's up in the air. No, throw it at him so you can give it back to your first time. You got your teammate out of the game. I know you're hoping you might get away with it, but it's good play, nice and sharp. Little reverse pass, and we got Michael Jackson on the end of it. Here we go. And it's all. I bet you Newcastle couldn't believe their luck. And this is a Newcastle team who haven't been brilliant recently. And you're gifting them the game. No, they had a go in the end, obviously West Ham, but it's very easy to have a go when you're 3-0 down. The game's done. And it's their performance, the way they started the game. You're on about fighting for your lives. That wasn't a team that was fighting for their lives. That was a team, obviously, they are lacking in confidence. It's as if they've not recovered from last weekend.
Do you think that may have played a part?
Oh, without a doubt. It has to be. And you start a game that slowly. A big decision went against them last week, almost feeling sorry for themselves. You look at the goal, the first goal, players taking chances out from the back. You're playing with a back 5, be compact, be hard to beat, stay in the game. They've done the opposite to that. They've gifted goals, and that's why, again, the table doesn't lie. They're where they are. They deserve to be where they are. Not good enough. And decision-making is all schoolboy stuff.
It'd be interesting to hear what Nuno says afterwards on why he started with a back 3. And also, he started with Callum Wilson and Castellanos started on the bench. When Castellanos came on, he had over half of West Ham shots this afternoon. I mean, including a sensational goal. But the question, I suppose, will be why he didn't start.
Yeah, but the system was fine last week. Again, you still have to trust your players with their decision-making. I think again, we talked about last week about being compact. Maybe there is a bit of panic in their game. We have to win this game. They think, obviously, but you have to stay in the game. You're not going to win the game in the first 20 minutes up at Newcastle. They're lacking goals, and that was a brilliant finish, but too little, too late. The game was over after 20 minutes.
I think maybe in the manager's head, you know, when we talk about taking positive from games, and Wilson scored that goal, and then it got ruled out. But he might have just thought they defended really well against Arsenal. We need someone. If we get a chance, we need someone who's clinical. So I sort of understand why he played Wilson, but when Tati scores a goal like that, it looks wrong. I think the bigger problem today, he probably got the system wrong. I think he played a 5 at the back against Man City and a 5 at the back against Arsenal.
The only other time they've done it against not Arsenal or Manchester City was December the 7th was the last time they did it against Brighton.
Exactly that. And I just feel as though maybe the manager got it wrong. But I understand why he would have went with that because the performance against Arsenal was so good. But it was different. And that's why if you're going to be in a low block and have people around you, you can do that. But they tried to open up a little bit too much today.
But you give up chance of that, Mark. The tactics and systems, the players' decision-making. Even if a back 4, you want to be compact. Don't think, just because there's a back 5 is going to be slightly easier because you have numbers back. The way they defended, no matter what system they were playing, we're on about the attacking players turning up. But you have to have a bit of a chance. You've got to keep it tight at the back to give your goal scorers a chance. Not good enough defensively.
Before the match, that you really wanted this performance for the home fans in your final game here. You must feel you got that.
Yeah, we got that. I mean, it wasn't the perfect game from us, but it was very good in phases, especially in that first half. I thought we were excellent with the ball and really creative. So it was big things that I was really pleased with. I think we've seen real progression in the last few weeks, much better performance.
Is that when you're at the best, when you're taking teams on the front foot, and particularly when you start games like you do?
Yeah, very much so. I think that's always been our hallmark, really. We want to see really good energy from the players. We want to see us taking the game to the opposition, and we want to see the quality. Now, we haven't put that together all the time this season in the Premier League, hence our league position, but I think we're showing signs that we're beginning to refine our form.
There was a couple of goals for Will Asula as well. How pleased were you with his performance leading the line? You know, he wasn't in the team at the very start of the season, but he seems to have come in lately.
Yeah, he's really growing, I think. He's improving all the time. I thought there were some really good moments for him today. I mean, of course, the goals. To lead the line for Newcastle isn't an easy thing. There's a lot of pressure and expectation and responsibility that comes with that role. But really pleased with his progression, and I think he's definitely vastly improved, but I still feel he's got a lot to come, which is really exciting.
We spoke to Kieran Trippier as well, and you know, he was really proud to have led the team out, and that ovation he got at the end. He said he was never sure what might happen when he came here in his 30s, but it's been the most incredible 4.5 years as well.
Well, I'd like to pay tribute to him, really. I mean, yes, you never quite know how any transfer is going to go when you bring a player in. I was pretty sure that he would help us because I'd worked with him before, so I knew what we were getting. But the consistency that he's shown, the quality that he's shown, the key thing for me is, though, what people don't probably see is how he's been really good in the difficult moments. There's been a lot of success, but there have been some choppy times, and I think he's always been a really stabilising presence in the dressing room, which people don't see.
You talk about those choppy times, maybe this season, but do you feel now, the way you're finishing the campaign, quite reinvigorated, and you can look ahead to the summer with a lot of optimism and a lot of hope? Yeah,
it's a big summer for us, huge summer for the football club. And of course the results with how you finish the season give hope for next season, and that's how we're going to try and take it.
And when you talk about it being a big summer, do you feel we'll see a much changed squad going into next season?
Possibly. Very difficult to predict. You never quite know. It does feel that it has the potential to be that summer for us. Regardless whether there's change or not, we have to come out the transfer window stronger.
Thanks for your time, Eddie.
Thank you.
Didn't approach the game with the same, I thought, mentality as they did the Arsenal game. It's almost as if the Arsenal game, well, it's Arsenal, so we have got to be so switched on defensively. And in that first 10 minutes alone, I just thought there's not the realisation that you've just got to win. 1-0 is enough. You know, you've just got to be so focused. And I thought they took Newcastle for granted.
I think, you know, what Dean's saying there, I think, you know, when you look at it, he's probably looked at it and gone, we played so well last week. We had opportunities. We had, you know, we took Arsenal to the brink, really. So you can't really blame him for that. I think what as Dino was saying there, it's just they've got it. You know, the players' mentality looked different. Yeah. You know, and I think some of the decision making in them key moments at times was really poor. Whereas last week they looked more focused and then decision making looked all clear. So yeah, it's just been it was poor from West Ham, and that's the reason why they've lost the game today.
Let's get some West Ham reaction, shall we? Here is their midfielder Matteas Fernandez.
Matteas, it was a really poor start to the game and it probably left you with too much to do. What do you put that start down to?
Yeah, the first 20 minutes was so painful for us. We're training all week, trying to do one thing, and when we arrive here, we did other thing. And when we play against these teams in Premier League, they score the chance. After that was good. We create. We just score one goal. Now we have this week to believe. We just need to believe and do our things. It's hard to explain to the fans, to the manager as well. Because it's our responsibility. We need to do much better.
Yeah, when you said you trained all week and then weren't able to do what you trained on the pitch, is that the players taking responsibility? What went wrong out there? Was it the formation? Was it more than that?
Yeah, need to be us always. Since the first day, it's the players who decide the games. So everyone needs to take responsibility of this moment, heads up, and be a man. This is football, and need to be positive because we have one more game. But about this game, it's frustrating because it's one game that can change everything, put pressure on Tottenham, and now it's difficult.
There was a big West Ham following, but a lot of them had left by the end of the match. They'd come a long way, and those that stayed acted quite angrily towards the players at the end. Can you understand their frustrations and the fact that they feel let down?
Yeah, of course. We didn't play with full fight, full spirit like we did against Arsenal. We miss everything: the fight, the energy, the second balls. We arrive every time late to the second balls, and against these teams they score the few shots that they have. So yeah, very hard to thinking about the future. Rest one game to try to be good and win, of course.
It's out of your hands now. You've just got to hope that other results go your way and that you can get a result in the last game as well. Is it a case of just seeing what pans out?
It's difficult, but it's football. Everything can happen. Hopefully they lost against Chelsea. They will lose against Chelsea, and in the last match we go with everything. We need to believe on that and win, because it doesn't matter if they win or not. We want to finish the season with a win.
Thanks for your time, Matteas.
Thank you.
Dean, what do you make of that from Nuno Espirito Santo? Seemed pretty resigned there, pretty downbeat. I mean, the thing that I picked out there, we've got to finish this with dignity.
Yeah, I think you can tell he's hurt, but I thought he was balanced in what he said. He recognised that the team weren't good enough. He took responsibility that maybe they'll look back and was his decisions the right one. He tried to change things. I think when they look at the whole game, they did create chances. They had the opportunities to make it an interesting game against Newcastle. But again, they just lack quality. I can't help but keep staring at that -22. That is such a difference to Spurs, and shows that they've had such a poor season in both boxes, and why they're in that position.
Yeah, and now it won't come down to the goal difference, because, as we say, I mean, they won't be confirmed if they get a point at Stamford Bridge on Tuesday night, but mathematically they would stay up. Tottenham Hotspur. What about those chances then at 3-1, Kev, for West Ham?
Yeah, and when you're down there, and as Dino's saying there, when you get them opportunities, that's when you've got to take it, and they just haven't been doing it all season long, and it's probably gone to the person you don't want out of the front four, if you like. You'd expect Jared here, who's, I think it's 12 games now without a goal, and it's shown. It's shown a little bit because I expect Jared there, I expect him to be reeling away and celebrating.
Not scored in the Premier League since January.
Since January, and that's going to have a massive effect, because he's one of your top players. That's a lovely little flick, to be fair, by Callum Wilson. Nice little touch on, but again, very easy for Nick Pope, not really testing him. And this one was the big chance for me, because they just got back to 3-1, and then an opportunity to get it to 3-2, and then anxiety starts kicking in for Newcastle then, and the problem. So as you were saying, these chances, you expect that one of them's got to go in, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, look, the effort's there, but the quality just isn't, and I think that's got to be the frustration for Nuno and the players, is that when you create those chances and you don't take them, then it's on you.
You touched on it there. You said it's not a fun place to be, the final match week, when you're that dreaded side of the dotted line.
No.
Elaborate on that. Do you think those West Ham players will be watching what's happening at Stamford Bridge? Absolutely,
of course. Yeah, obviously behind the sofa they'll be watching it, but I just think it's the best place to be. Being a footballer, being in that environment every day, it's the best place. Yeah. But that's the one time it's not, is when you're down there trying to go in, trying to lift the players is going to be just so difficult this week. Obviously, that'll change if Chelsea can win.
That's what you've just said there. I think because it's not in your hands as well. Yeah. Now you're hoping that someone's going to bail you out of it. And barring a disaster, even if they get a draw, barring a disaster on the final day, on West Ham winning 6-0 and Tottenham losing 5, they're virtually safe. So the West Ham players will all have the Chelsea shirts on Tuesday night, hoping, and every West Ham fan, because they'll want to take it to the last day, because you never know what can happen.
And also that uncertainty about your own career, about what's going to happen if West Ham do get relegated.
I was going to ask you that. How costly would that be? Because it's close now, isn't it, from a West Ham point of view? We don't know what's going on behind the scenes in terms of ownership structure as well, but would you expect them to bounce back? Would you expect Nuno to stay and fight?
I think they always will, West Ham. I think they're that type of club that would never sort of give up, and they'll always have that support as well, West Ham. But it feels like it's such a pivotal moment in the club's history, really, just in terms of what's going to happen at board level, possibly, and also the playing staff that could leave would be difficult too.
Yeah, need a favour from Chelsea, don't they?
They need a big favour, yeah, a massive favour. And as Dino's just alluded to there at the end, I think they'll lose some big players if they go down. You know, like Jared Bowen, Somerville. I think even Fernandez could be in there. Souček, you know, Wilson probably. So it would be a lot. It would be a lot of turnover in the summer if they ended up.
Yeah. Kev, Dean, thank you for your time this evening. So there we go, another defeat for West Ham, a third Premier League defeat on the spin, and they are close to relegation to the Championship. Just 2 points behind Spurs. It goes to the final day. They will hope. We were soft, the words of Nuno Espirito Santo. What do you add to that when we see the first goal here, Dean?
Yeah, just not the right mindset from the West Ham players. Maybe took Newcastle for granted because of their kind of poor form, and didn't get up to the speed of the game. And I'm just so surprised defensively that they were so poor early on. Looked disorganised. Todibo not doing his job properly there. I mean, look, take the yellow card if you have to. And then Souček not staying with Voltemade. So multiple mistakes, all starting from the goalkeeper's pass. And they looked so rattled early on in such an important game.
Kev, you called it, watching the game with you, that there needed to be a change of shape, there needed to be a change of personnel, and before Nuno got round to doing that, they were 2-0 down.
Yeah, I mean, and as Dino just said there, from beginning, even from, you know, the goalkeeper, it was really poor. And then this, you know, they went for the press, but it was sort of half-hearted, and then decision-making of Mavropanos dropping down, then the keeper coming rushing out and sort of making his mind up for the striker, Sule, you know. So, sometimes you've got to go good play by Newcastle, but they speeded Newcastle's attack up by having a really poor press. And then it was just so easy, and then just decision-making and then key moments. And as you can see, it goes into the middle of the goal, and I feel like the keeper made the wrong decision there coming out and just made it easy for the striker. But this was the turning point for West Ham. I mean, when you're laughing when you're getting taken off after 20 minutes, I think that's very poor from him.
Did that surprise you, though, Kev, the fact that three played well, didn't they, against Arsenal? They were quite solid, albeit Todibo was on the right side of that back three, not the left back today.
We were talking about it off air, weren't we? You know, saying he played on the right side and Disasi on the left last week. So maybe that was a sort of a tactical change by Nuno, and you can see why he went with the five again and the three at the back, if you however way you want to look at it, because he probably wanted to keep it tight at St James's. Knows how fast Newcastle start, but what he wasn't prepared for was how poor they started with the ball. That was the biggest thing. I thought West Ham gifted opportunities and real good opportunities, and then in them key moments and in the decision making, they made the wrong decisions, and that's why they were punished.
Which is not what you need when you're in a relegation scrap. And they went 3-0 down. Osula scored the third. This goal from Tati Castellanos is a beautiful finish, isn't it? And did give them some hope in these final 20 minutes, Dean. Stunning
from Castellanos. I mean, that instinct and vision and execution was absolute elite level stuff. It's a shame he just hasn't been able to do more of this with the chances that he's had for West Ham, but he's clearly got ability. You can see from this goal. I mean, look, this is one that when you retire you can look back on with real fond memories. Right now he can't, because it meant absolutely nothing. And it's out of their hands, and that's the fact right now, Kev, isn't it? And it basically means, because of the huge goal difference, that Tottenham just need a point. Still, it's two tough games for Tottenham. They play Everton on the final day, and then, of course, go to Stamford Bridge to take on Chelsea on Tuesday night. But they get that point, West Ham are down.
Yeah, and barring an absolute disaster by Tottenham, West Ham actually need to win. As you've just said there, they've got to hope, fingers crossed. When it gets taken out of your hands, that's the worst feeling. We were talking about it off camera, and now they're in that situation. They're hoping Chelsea can do them a favour so that they go into the last game and the final game of the season, knowing that if they win, it gives them a good opportunity of staying up. But yeah, I really worry for them now.